What if everything you have been taught about death is only part of the story, and the most important part was never meant to reach you? What if, behind the comforting promises of heaven, reunion, and eternal peace, there is something far more unsettling, something far more consequential than anyone ever warned you about? What if death does not set you free at all, but quietly returns you to the same cycle, again and again? Most people feel these questions for a brief moment and then turn away, choosing familiar answers over uncomfortable doubt, walking a path they were told leads to freedom, without ever asking who designed it or where it truly ends. Yet, long before modern religion shaped its narratives, the Gnostics whispered a very different understanding, one that was never meant to comfort, but to awaken. They claimed that the world itself was not created by the highest source, not by a loving and infinite fullness, but by an imposter, a lesser ruler driven by ignorance and control, a being they called the Demiurge. According to their hidden teachings, this false creator did not only shape the physical world, but constructed an endless wheel of birth and death, a system that draws souls back into matter through reincarnation, not to help them evolve, but to keep them bound inside the same reality over and over again. And this raises a question few ever dare to hold for long. If the afterlife itself is part of that system, then what truly happens to you when you die? And more importantly, is escape even possible? This is not knowledge you will hear in sermons or find wrapped in comforting language about love and light. It does not promise reassurance or easy meaning. This is the kind of understanding that was buried, erased, and condemned as heresy because it threatened the foundations of spiritual authority itself. The Gnostics believed that if too many souls remembered their true origin, the entire structure would begin to fracture. In this exploration, you are not being asked to accept a belief, but to look directly at a possibility, one that reframes death not as a reward or punishment, but as a moment of immense vulnerability, when the soul can be captured, redirected, and returned to the same prison, wearing the mask of growth. You will begin to see why they warned that reincarnation may not be the path of spiritual progress we were promised, but the mechanism that keeps the system running, and why the light so many are drawn toward might not be what it claims to be. Most people will never encounter these ideas, and most who do will dismiss them without truly listening, continuing toward the familiar glow without asking who built it or why it feels so inviting. But perhaps the prison of the Demiurge does not end with this world at all. Perhaps it stretches beyond death itself, a hall of mirrors designed to convince the soul it is returning home, while quietly guiding it back into the same loop. What if death is neither an ending nor a beginning, but the greatest illusion humanity has ever mistaken for truth? Because what you are about to encounter may not simply change how you think about dying, it may challenge how you live, how you remember yourself, and whether you were ever meant to remain inside the cycle at all. There is a feeling many people carry quietly, the sense that this physical world, with all its weight and rules, cannot be the whole of reality, as if something vast and essential exists just beyond what the eyes can see. Long before modern religions formed their boundaries, the ancient world was filled with whispered stories of hidden realms, rival powers, and knowledge meant only for those willing to look inward. Among these voices, the Gnostics offered a warning unlike any other. In the desert caves of Nag Hammadi in Egypt, Texts lay buried for centuries until their discovery in 1945. Writings that unsettled the comforting stories repeated by priests and emperors alike. These Gnostic texts dared to suggest that the world you move through each day is not the true creation of the highest source, but a lesser imitation, convincing enough to feel real, yet quietly incomplete. They spoke of a boundless realm beyond matter, the pleroma, a fullness of pure awareness and light. From this fullness emerged Sophia, wisdom itself, who in a moment of longing and curiosity acted apart from the source and gave rise to a flawed creator, the Demiurge. This being, unaware of the greater reality above him, declared himself the only God and shaped matter into a dazzling but confining system, filling it with Archons, forces that govern time, fate, and the repeating patterns of human life. At the heart of the Gnostic message lies a deeply unsettling idea. The soul was never meant to circle endlessly through birth and death, not as a punishment, not as a lesson, simply because it does not belong to this system. True life, they suggested, belongs beyond this shadowed realm. Yet the Demiurge's system keeps souls returning through reincarnation, feeding the very structure that confines them. The Gnostics quietly proposed something far more disturbing, that death itself could be the trap. Similar warnings echo elsewhere, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where souls are cautioned against dazzling lights and beautiful visions meant to draw them back into rebirth. Even early Christian thinkers like Origen explored ideas of pre-existence and repeated embodiment before such teachings were erased. Why such urgency to bury them? Because fear of death may be the strongest chain a soul can wear. A soul convinced it must return again and again to learn lessons is unlikely to question the system it serves, but a soul that remembers it was never meant to be confined becomes unpredictable, even dangerous. The Gnostics saw themselves as wanderers in a counterfeit world, carrying a spark from a forgotten origin. And perhaps this is why something in these stories feels uncomfortably familiar, as if they are not describing a belief, but remembering something you once knew. Their aim was not to improve the cycle, but to awaken from it, and their writings hint at subtle ways the aware might pass through death without being drawn back by familiar lights. And this leads to a question that lingers uncomfortably close to home. If the cycle is a prison, what keeps it running so smoothly? And how might those same forces still shape belief, spirituality, and longing today? There is a moment imagined across cultures when the body releases its final breath and the weight of flesh falls away, when pain dissolves and awareness seems to float free in a vast, glowing openness. And many stories describe what comes next in almost the same way. A light appears, gentle yet overwhelming, pulling you forward without effort. Familiar faces emerge, smiling, calling you by name. A deep warmth surrounds you, and everything in you wants to surrender, to believe you have finally arrived somewhere safe. For a brief instant, it feels like home. Yet the Gnostics placed a quiet pause inside this scene and whispered a warning meant not to frighten, but to awaken discernment. Not everything that shines is what it claims to be. In their vision, what is often called the afterlife may be the very entrance back into the cycle. The tunnel of light was not described as liberation, but as a luminous mechanism shaped by the Archons, subtle forces tasked with guiding souls back into embodiment. The voices that feel so loving may not be ancestors at all, but carefully formed reflections, designed to keep you from asking where you truly are. Gnostic texts never used modern language like reincarnation trap, yet they repeatedly warned that souls could be deceived, seized, and returned to new bodies. The reason was simple and unsettling. The system feeds on forgetting. Each return into flesh wipes the memory of origin. Each lifetime buries the knowing of where you come from beneath layers of struggle, desire, fear, and distraction, while the grip of the Archons quietly tightens. In today's words, this resembles a wheel, a cosmic rhythm where death offers a brief awakening, only for consciousness to be lulled back into sleep. Just as a dream vanishes upon waking, the memory of freedom fades when the soul re-enters the body. Gnostic writings spoke of this through symbols. The hypostasis of the Archons described rulers who bind humanity through ignorance. The Apocryphon of John told of a false creator shaping layers of deception around the soul. Pistis Sophia hinted at a perilous passage through realms filled with judgment and dazzling lights. And still, one question lingers uncomfortably close. Why does the light feel so irresistible? Because the illusion touches the deepest human longing, the desire to be held, to belong, to reunite with what feels lost. What more convincing invitation than the faces you loved? What stronger pull than the promise of reunion? Yet the Gnostics insisted that beyond this glow exists a radiance that cannot be imitated. The true light of the pleroma, flowing through the aeons as living awareness. To sense the difference between the demanding shine of the counterfeit and the quiet clarity of the true light was, for them, the heart of liberation. One dazzles and pulls you outward, the other awakens remembrance within. This is why they spoke of gnosis, not belief, but inner knowing. Without awareness, how could anyone tell the difference? And so the reflection deepens. If comfort and longing are the tools that draw the soul back, how does the cycle truly operate? What roles do karma and judgment play? And what might it mean to carry this awareness not someday, but now, while you are still alive and able to see? What if the moment you stop questioning the world in front of you is the moment the illusion tightens its grip? Ancient Gnostic stories whisper that when the body ends, the soul does not float freely into peace. It meets forces that feel official, familiar, even authoritative. Gatekeepers, watchers, not monsters, but systems. They ask questions that sound like care. They show you memories that feel like truth. They replay your life, not to free you, but to make you agree that you still owe something. You may have heard of the life review, the sense of seeing your actions, feeling the joy and pain you caused, being told there is more to learn. But pause here, just for a breath, and ask yourself who benefits from this lesson never being complete. In the Gnostic imagination, judgment does not fall from a true, distant source. It rises from within the machinery of this world itself. Even when it feels like your own conscience speaking, it may still be wearing the voice of the system. Convince a soul it has failed, and it will willingly return to fix itself, over and over. Perhaps hell is not fire or punishment, but repetition without remembrance. A courtroom where every role is played by the same unseen hand, and you agree to the verdict because it sounds like growth. Karma, then, is not a holy scale, but a network of invisible threads, subtle weights tied to emotion, guilt, and desire. Every action echoes, yes, but the echo is used to pull you back into familiar gravity. It looks like a school. It feels like purpose. Yet something in you has always sensed the bars. And maybe the urgency you feel right now is not fear, but recognition. Many traditions speak of returning again and again as a sacred journey, a classroom where the soul slowly matures toward freedom. But the Gnostic imagination dared to whisper something far more unsettling. What if returning is not progress at all, but the very mechanism of the prison? In this view, liberation does not come from mastering the rules, collecting lessons, or becoming better at the game. It comes from remembering that you were never meant to play it. This is why the old stories speak of secret words, hidden names, and inner seals, not as magical tricks, but as symbols of recognition. In texts like the first Apocalypse of James, the soul is warned that when it meets the rulers beyond death, it must not beg, obey, or shrink. It must remember where it comes from and speak from that place, not with arrogance, but with certainty, because the cycle feeds on forgetting. The more tightly you cling to this body, this name, this past, the easier it is to be guided back into the familiar wheel. But when you sense, even faintly, that your essence is older than this world, older than its systems and stories, something begins to loosen. Perhaps this explains moments you have never been able to shake. That strange feeling of déjà vu. The sense that parts of your life feel rehearsed, as if you have walked these emotional corridors before. The quiet suspicion that reality itself runs on a script. Maybe these are not errors in the mind, but soft tremors from the cycle itself, echoes of repetition brushing against your awareness. And if that is so, then the real question is no longer what the trap is, but how one moves through it without being pulled back. If this feels familiar, you're not the only one noticing it. The Gnostics believed this was not knowledge for scholars, but a map for those who felt awake in a sleeping world. And the map does not begin at death. It begins now, in the way attention moves through each moment. It quietly raises a question the system never answers. Who are you beneath all of this? Each layer you loosen weakens the grip, because what binds you is not force, but identification. The demiurgic system can only hold what believes it belongs to form, what vibrates in fear, guilt, and longing. This is why the Gnostics spoke of gnosis, not as belief, but as seeing, a quiet noticing. Moments when you watch a thought arise without immediately following it. When you sense a desire, a fear, or a reaction forming, and choose to stay present rather than be pulled along. These were not rituals for reward, but rehearsals for clarity. When you learn to stay present here, you become less dazzled later. You might notice moments, even now, when something pulls at your attention. A promise of comfort, a familiar urgency. Instead of rushing toward it, there is space to pause, to ask quietly whether something invites awareness or demands surrender. Ask inwardly, does this demand or does it free? Feel the difference between light that overwhelms and light that reveals. This simple discernment plants a memory deeper than words. The ancient talk of passwords and seals was never really about secret phrases. It pointed to something quieter, an inner authority that does not need permission, a recognition that does not argue, but simply knows when something does not resonate as true. You may never need spoken phrases, but you do need recognition. Recognition that you arise from the infinite, not from the machinery that governs this realm. That you belong to fullness, not confinement. Held steadily, that recognition becomes a key. Live as if where you place your attention already matters. Release cycles of fear. Step back from the hunger for approval, from the need to be defined by roles. Let attachments soften, not through rejection, but through understanding that what you are cannot be damaged. As you live this way, something shifts. Death loses its threat, and reincarnation its charm. You begin to taste a quiet freedom even now, and you sense that this moment, this exact moment, is not random, but an invitation you may not want to ignore. The Gnostic path was never about rejecting life or escaping it in despair. It was about learning to see through it, realizing that every moment of awareness creates a small fracture in the invisible walls around you. Each time you notice yourself beyond your name or your role and rest in the quiet presence beneath them, the wheel loosens its grip. This is why the question matters so much, and why it should not be answered quickly. Would you recognize it when comfort feels more convincing than truth? Would you step toward it out of habit, or would something in you pause and look beyond it? Let that question walk beside you, not as fear, but as a form of attention. Let it shape how you react, how you desire, how you define success and failure. Because the place where liberation is practiced is not some distant afterlife. It is this moment, right now. As your breath moves, as your thoughts rise and fade. For centuries, people have been taught that death leads neatly upward or downward, reward or punishment, light or darkness. But the Gnostic imagination hinted at something stranger and more intimate. That both extremes may be part of the same stagecraft, designed to pull the soul back into familiar patterns. The stories they preserved, hidden in caves and passed in whispers, do not demand belief. They invite recognition. They suggest that judgment, reward, even comfort can become tools of return if awareness is absent. What frees the soul is not obedience or perfection, but clarity. Not knowledge gathered, but recognition awakened. No authority can walk this path for you. No system can substitute for your own seeing. The veil thins only when you notice it. The real question is not what waits after death, but who you are becoming long before it arrives. Are you living as a bundle of reactions, fears, and unfinished hungers? Or are you slowly learning to rest in something deeper that watches all of that arise? The way you live now trains your attention for later. The way you meet illusion now shapes how you will meet it then. Perhaps that is why moments of stillness feel so charged, why certain ideas strike like recognition rather than novelty. Not because they are new, but because they touch something ancient in you that has been waiting. A soul that remembers cannot be easily led. A soul that sees cannot be easily dazzled. And maybe the most unsettling and hopeful suggestion of all is this. The prison has never depended on force. It has always relied on where you place your attention.